In the book, My Stroke of Insight by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, she says I was by anyone's standard no longer normal. In my own unique way, I had become severely mentally ill, and I must say there was both freedom and challenge for me in recognizing that our perception of the external world and our relationship to it is a product of our neurological circuitry. For all those years of my life, I really had been a figment of my own imagination. On December 10, 1996, Dr. Taylor, a 37-year-old Harvard-trained neuroanatomist, experienced a massive stroke when a blood vessel exploded in the left hemisphere of her brain. Within 4 hours, she observed her own mind completely deteriorate to not being able to walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of her life. In her book, Dr. Taylor shares her unique perspective on the brain for recovery, and in the sense of omniscient understanding she gained from this unusual and inspiring voyage out of the abyss of a wounded brain. Understanding or intelligence, knowledge, and ability to judge, all is purposed and driven by recognition, cognition, intellectual activity. It's quoted from the website Piaget.org. John Piaget put the growth of knowledge as being a progressive construction of logically embedded structures succeeding one another by a process of inclusion of lower, less powerful logical means into higher and more powerful ones up to adulthood. Cognitive learning has been a subject for many years. The understanding of cognitive development has become broader as time progressed due to the age-old question, how does knowledge grow? Piaget had a stage theory that he based his whole concept on cognitive development. The first stage is the sensory motor stage, anywhere between the ages of 0 to 2 years. It describes in the textbook Psychology, A Journey by Dennis Kuhn and John Medier, the sensory motor stage brings about object permanence. And that's when a child, if you show a child a toy and hide it under a blanket, that child knows that that toy is there. Even though he can't see it, he knows it's there. The second stage is the pre-operational stage between the ages of 2 to 7. In this stage, children are developing language skills but do not understand concrete logic and cannot manipulate information. For example, they start using broomsticks for playing horse. They start role-playing as far as mommy, daddy, doctor, such as that they're not developing a logical means to it. They just see a broomstick and say, hey, that's a toy. I'm going to play with it. The third stage is the concrete operational, and it's between the ages of 7 to 11. This stage starts the process of logical thinking and later progresses into conservation. Out of these two objects here, which one do y'all believe has the most liquid in it? Anybody? Glass. But you think the glass has the most in it? Anybody else?
I think they're equal.
You think they're equal? You're right. They're both equal. In this stage, children start to believe and understand that even though this is taller and this is smaller but wider, they can already grasp the fact that they're the same. They both have the same amount in it. I asked Christopher earlier today which one had the same in it. He's almost 4 years old, and he said the glass. Because it's taller, he thought the glass had more in it. The last stage of his thought process was the formal operational stage, and that's from the ages of 11 and up. In the last stage, the child starts developing logical thoughts and starts deducting reasoning and systematic planning. A person with reversibility of thought would say 2 times 4 is 11. We learned that in elementary school, that 2 times 4 is 8. Sorry, my math is wrong. And then in this stage, we start to see that not only 2 times 4 is 8, but 4 times 2 is 8 as well. You start thinking, okay, well, reversibility of thought it means the same, but you have the logic, the concept of that. Active learning is when experiences stimulate mental activity that lead to meaningful learning. Direct learning is from watching TV, listening to a radio station, watching a lecture, reading a web page of something that you grab a hold to on your own. You learn it directly. Learning by discovery is when you do an experiment and then you try to discover your own explanations for what has been observed. You start taking logical aspects of what you've discovered. Constructivism People learn by using what they know to construct new understandings. All learning involves transfer that is based on previous experiences and prior knowledge. And that's a quote from How People Learn. Constructivism is a part of the modern learning theory. And modern learning theory has progressed from Piaget's theory, which is a stage-like leap, to a more constructive base of atmosphere where your culture is. Culture will more than likely affect learning, identities, and standards as well. For example, being taught the same way as your grandparents taught your parents is a culture-based learning. A child being raised in a Pentecostal church will more than likely raise their child in a Pentecostal church because their identities and their standards are being followed and progressed out. Piaget's stage theory has had a significant impact on the way we view and analyze learning, and in its own way has helped shape and form the knowledge we do see as learning. I believe we have always seen the learning as a growth process. Piaget studied cognition in his own children, and as a result we have been able to develop a concept of some form of way to study how we learn and how learning grows. Since Piaget's studies, we have come so far to actually form a similar analysis, but with a few changes. For instance, modern learning is based on continuous learning and not an ongoing stage like leaps in general mental abilities. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, from her work as a brain scientist, was able to regain her knowledge by completely repairing her mind and recalibrating her understanding of the world according to the insights gained from her right brain that morning on December 10th. Her thought saying, by stepping to the right of our left brain, we can all uncover the feelings of well-being and peace that are so sublime by our own brain chatter. Learning can and will impact others as well. Our children learn from us, but as they grow, children will start learning on their own. So what we want to do is to impact them first and foremost, so our children can impact others later.